Welcome to this problem, minimum time difference. Basically in this problem we receive as input a list of times and we are supposed to return the minimum time difference we can have between 2 points in the various times we receive as input. Simple example, if I have this as input, the single difference I can have is the difference between this first one and the second one. Now if I have this as input, the differences I can have is actually between the first and the second, between the first and the third, between the second and the third. Those are the three differences, and I should return the minimum of those three. So now, how are we going to approach this? For the first thing, we can, the first pattern we can recognize that if we sort the element, it will be easier for us to compute the difference because we are going to have the times being displayed one after the other in such a way that the next time is actually the nearest one to me. So if I want to minimize the difference, having the nearest one just after me will help me to minimize the difference. So that's the first thing we are going to do. We are going to sort our array. And the second thing we are going to do is that we are going to convert the array into the int representation. What does that mean? That means computing the difference between this and this will not be that easy. But if you convert all of your string into minute, it will be easy for you to compute the difference. Now, the third thing you need to understand is how to compute the difference. What does that mean? That means, let's say I have A and B. If I compute the difference, this is one difference, this is another difference. Those two are actually valid differences from A to B. And since I'm trying to minimize the difference, for me in this scenario, what I'm gonna take is this difference, like the orange one. And how do I know the smallest difference between 2 points? It's actually the difference with value less than 12 hours, less or equal than 12 hours, It should not be greater than 12 hours. And 12 hours is actually 12 hours is actually 12 times 60. So this is the number of minutes that the difference should not exceed. Okay, so now that being said, let's dive into the code and try to code this. So the first thing I'm going to call will be my helper function that is actually the difference. So it's going to be here. I'm going to call it int compute difference. It's going to take two parameters, int time A and int time B. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say int diff is actually equal to as of A minus B. Sorry. And here I'm just going to have a logic if my diff is actually greater than 12 times 60. Then what I'm going to say is I'm going to say diff is taking 24 times 60 minus diff, and then here you just return diff. One thing you should keep in mind is that basically this can be replaced with something like return minimum of diff, and this is a short version. I wanted to show you this just for you to know exactly the flow. You are computing the difference, and if you have the difference which is greater than 12 hours, you just need to return like the smallest part, which is actually 24 hours minus this one, the difference that is greater than 12 hours, so it will return you this. So that being said, we can get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. So now we have our function to compute the differences. The second thing we need to do is to have our array of integer value of those elements. So after going to sort them, like to sort my array of string, I don't know if I should sort it before converting, but let me just sort. I'm gonna sort time when begin. So I have my array being sorted here. Now I should create the int. I will just call it maybe int times. I'm gonna loop each of the time point, what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say in the time is going to take how am I going to convert? So to convert, I have like two string to int of my string dot substring of 0 to. So this is actually the substring from the 0 to 2. So this is actually this I'm taking. So this is actually the R representation. So I'm going to make it time 12 to make it minute. Plus now I'm going to take the minute representation. So it will be decim. But I'm taking now the rate. That's all. This is the in representation. I need to add this to our in time. So I'm going to have in time the pushback of our time. So after this, I have the array of times. Now I have my array of times. The next thing I need to do is to compute my result. So I'm going to have in result is going to take 0. Now I should initialize my result at the maximum value possible, which is actually 60 times 24. And this is what I should return. Now I'm going to look through my array of time point, and for each of the times I'm going to compute the difference between 2 points. I'm going to make sure to keep the minimum between the value I'm having and the previous result I was having. So I'm going to just have for in time the size and for each of the time I'm just going to say result is taking min of result, and I'm now going to compute the compute difference, which is this of what we have two value, which is actually the in times of I and the in times of I minus 1. There's one thing you need to pay attention to. If I'm doing this, I need to start this as 1. Yeah, I need to start this as 1, because if I'm checking I minus 1, if I'm starting at 0, the previous one will not exist. So yeah, this is our flow of computing the differences of all the points. Let us run this and see what it gives. I have an error in times. I have in times here with s. I don't know why I make this mistake. Yeah. So it happened. Okay, it's working. Perfect. Everything is green. But there's one thing we are missing. Were you able to find what we are missing? We are computing the difference between 2 points. So we are computing the difference between the first and the second and the third. And then we have already sorted our array in such a way that two consecutive points is actually going to give us the minimum difference we can have between those points. But we are missing 2 elements, the first and the last one. That means if we have, let us submit this, you will see what we are missing. Let us submit. You see we are missing this type of test cases. The problem with this is that the difference between this and this is actually the minimum difference between 2 times. So we are missing to compute the difference between the first and the last one, and this is making us to fail some test cases. And for us to handle that, we can, instead of initialize this as the maximum value we can have, we are just going to start our element not to this one, but to the difference between the element at position 0 and the element at position in time dot size minus 1. Int time dot size minus 1. And then by doing so, we should be able to have everything green. By doing so, let us submit. Perfect. Now everything is green. So this was my approach of solving this. I hope you do enjoy it. Feel free to give me any input. I'll be really happy to interact with you regarding this. See you on the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Ciao.